Ms. Goucher and Mr. Peterson, if they've got video capability.
Russell, if you have video, turn it on.
My camera's not working for some reason.
We're here today on, I guess, a motion concerning placement. Mr. Novak, is this your motion?
It is, Your Honor, and I see my client's name on the screen, but I don't see his video, and I don't know if he has video capability or not.
He had it turned on a little while ago.
Here. Yes, my camera, for whatever reason, keeps messing up. It's got a crack in it, and every time I try to turn it on, it'll exit me out of the video.
Okay. All right. So we are here for this placement motion today, and we are conducting this through the Zoom program under a finding of good cause and by consent and agreement of the parties.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Present, ready, Your Honor.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Russell Peterson. We're both present, Judge.
T.D. Hammonds for Gloria Goucher, mother of Jasmine, ready to proceed.
Stacy Zavala for Jasmine.
And Mr. Trout, you may proceed.
Gloria Goucher.
Ms. Goucher, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And may it please the court, Judge, this is my motion.
That's what I was going to ask. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I didn't know if
You're correct. So, Mr. Novak, you can proceed. I apologize.
And by way of a very brief opening statement, Judge Board handled the last hearing, and it's my recollection, and I'm subject to correction, that I needed to prove that my client had a job, a place to live, and daycare set up for the child before the child could go home. And that's what I'm prepared to prove today, Judge. And unless there's any other lawyer that wants to say anything, I will go ahead and call Russell Peterson.
I'm here.
Okay, I've reviewed Judge Board's notes, so you all were there. I guess get everybody's input, but I guess my understanding was that he found the evidence was sufficient to name the department temporary managing conservator. I think my understanding of what he ruled was that, or it said to you, was that you could certainly ask for, a subsequent placement hearing if some of these questions could be resolved or answered with respect to the father. But he put it in the context of that it wouldn't be him, but that I could entertain another hearing on that. Not that it was some automatic situation. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
May I proceed, Judge?
You may.
Thank you. Russell, can you hear me?
Yes,
Where do you work?
I work at Rocking Sea Trucking out of Amarillo, Texas.
How long have you worked there?
I have worked here since September of last year.
How much money do you get paid?
It varies from week to week. I just sent you a copy of last week's pay stub, which was well over $900 and some.
And do you expect that employment will be continuous? In other words, you'll have a paycheck next week and the week after and so forth?
Absolutely.
Okay. Where do you live?
I live at 46.
How long have you been there?
I have been there since May the 2nd, I believe it was.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the layout of that living situation. Do you have a kitchen? Do you have a shower, a bathroom?
Yes, it is a full kitchenette unit. The room is almost the exact same size as a studio apartment. It's got a California king size bed, 2-burner stove, sink, and then it has a full size refrigerator. The bathroom is all off by itself. It's got a 45-inch flat screen TV in the room. Yeah.
Who lives there with you?
Myself and my dog.
Okay, Miss Gloucher does not live there?
Correct.
Has she been on the road with you when you've been traveling?
She was with me one time, but that was it.
Okay. Do you intend to take her on the road with you in the future if the court places the child with Jasmine with you?
Absolutely not.
How come?
Number one, that would be detrimental to me as well with her drinking and everything. I don't allow that in my truck, nor does the company allow it, nor does the federal government allow alcohol to be in the truck. Plus, with everything that has gone on, I just don't trust it.
If the court were to send Jasmine home to you today or tomorrow, you have daycare established.
That's correct. I have Jasmine enrolled in the development program, which Garrett can testify to. However, the place that I had set up at the time only had one opening. All I have to do now is once I get her, make a phone call to any care that accepts early child development, and I will be able to get her into daycare immediately.
You're confident that if the court sent Jasmine home to you today, that you would have daycare tomorrow morning?
Absolutely. I could have it first thing tomorrow morning.
Judge, I'll pass the witness. You know what? Let me go back for half a second, if I might, Judge. Do you remember the day that Jasmine was removed?
I do, yes.
Who called the police that day?
I had called the police. I came home from work. I found Gloria passed out on the bed, unresponsive. And then I had called 911. And when that whole situation took place, I ended up having a heart attack and went to the hospital.
So you weren't the one passed out on the bed, correct?
Correct.
You were the one that made the phone call to first responders, correct?
Correct.
And as far as you know, the only reason that you didn't get to keep Jasmine that day was because you had a heart attack, correct?
That is correct.
If the judge were to order you to go to get a drug test today, whether hair follicle or urine, would you object to that?
Absolutely not.
Would you pass it?
I absolutely would.
Judge, I'll pass the witness. Thank you so much for letting me ask those extra questions.
All right. Mr. Scott,
Mr. Peterson, are you on the road right now?
Yes, I'm currently in Lancaster, my way back to Amarillo, Texas. I'm currently parked at our substation lot down here in Lancaster because I had to get work done on my trailer.
Okay, I'm sorry, you kind of cut out on me. You're in where?
Lancaster, Texas,
Okay, Lancaster. Texas.
just east of Dallas.
Okay. Are you currently home every night?
Yes, I am home every night. And my attorney, Mr. Nowak, can attest to that. He has the copy of my pay stub that shows every load that I have done for the last week and load done.
and what? Okay, Mr. Peterson, you're cutting out a lot. So would you repeat what you just said?
I had said that Mr. Nowak has a copy of my pay stub proving that I'm home every night, all the runs that I do.
Mr. Peterson, can you hear us?
Yes, now I can hear you. Sorry, my headset's messing up.
Okay, yeah, that's much better. All right, Ms. Taylor, do you feel like you got his answer? Okay. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Trout.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now at the last hearing, you had stated that you'd be put on local routes, but then we heard testimony from your employer that they don't have specific local routes that can guarantee you home every night. Do you remember that?
That is correct. And she was on record that if we were able to do it, it would be.
Okay, Mr. Peterson, you're breaking up real badly. We're going to have to try that again.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. It's just
Can you hear me?
Your signal is obviously not very strong.
No, I apologize, Honor.
Are you anywhere where you have access to Wi-Fi?
I can try to walk up to the building and see if I can access it from there. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Trout, go ahead.
So just clarifying, we'll go back to the last question. You said you do remember that testimony was taken, correct?
Yes, I remember the testimony that was taken in court. I do. However, my employer also said that you cannot guarantee every day home. However, that I've brought and my opinion for it.
Nope, no way. Okay, Mr. Peterson, it's just not clear. The court reporter is trying to take everything down that you say, and so I'm going to ask you to try to log out and log back in. All right, Daniel, go ahead.
Okay. So you said that this pay stub that you sent Mr. Nowak was for the last week, and it proves that you were home every night?
Correct.
Okay. And have you been able to be home every night since the last hearing, or have you been staying out on the road in other weeks?
There's been a few times where I have stayed on the road, and that's only because I have my daughter right now. I'm trying to get as much money as I possibly can.
Okay. But there's still no 100% guarantee that you would be home every night.
I know that to the best of my ability, so I have no idea how to answer that.
All right.
My apologies, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Trout, you can continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Peterson, you testified a while ago that you've been in the Wood Springs since May the 2nd. Is that correct?
That is correct. Well, roughly around that time, yes.
Okay. Have you moved out of that hotel at any time?
No, I have not.
So around May 31st, you and Gloria didn't pack up and go on the road?
As I had previously stated, we did one time.
Okay. But did you let the hotel room go is the question I'm asking.
No, I did not.
Okay. So at no time since May 2nd, have you moved out of that hotel and not held a hotel room?
Correct.
Okay. Now you stated that you and Gloria, are y'all together at this point or not?
No.
Okay. Has she been staying in the hotel with you?
Negative. She only comes over when I'm doing my local runs to take care of the dogs. However, that was until I got rid of the two puppies.
Okay. Did you have a meeting yesterday with St. Francis?
Yes, I did.
And did you tell them that y'all were together and were a couple?
No, I did not.
Okay. Do you know, is Gloria still drinking?
Not as far as I know, she's not. Whenever she would come over to take care of the dogs, she wouldn't. And then yesterday when I seen her at the visit, she wasn't.
Okay. Now you've been coming back into town for visitations, is that correct?
Yes, I'm always there for visits.
Yes. Does the workers pick you up from the hotel or they pick you up from the truck stops?
Yesterday they picked me up from the truck stop because I had to do laundry. The washer and dryer was out of service at the hotel.
Is that the only time they picked you up from the truck stops?
Yes.
Okay. Earlier, the reason I asked about mom drinking is earlier you stated you can have alcohol in your truck, leading to the belief that mom has been drinking, but you're saying you're not sure if she is or not?
That is correct. I had said that I do not allow alcohol in my truck, nor am I allowed to have it at all per the federal government. I never
Correct.
once said that I don't allow her to have it. I just said I don't allow it.
What daycare program is it that you have set up?
It's through the early development or early child care development. Garrett can explain it more. I don't know the proper termination or punctuality for it. I had contacted Night and Day, and then there was another place, Region 16, I believe it was,
Okay.
that had contacted me, and we got her set up to Region 16.
Okay. And is Region 16 the daycare, or is that just the people that help you with the program?
That's the enrollment center. So once she gets enrolled in that, she is accepted in any place that accepts early childhood development.
Okay. So until that happens, you don't actually know what daycare she would go into, correct?
All I have to do is make a phone call to ones that accept it and see if they have any openings. And when I was on the phone with them the last time, they told
objection, Your Honor,
me,
non-responsive.
Okay, sustained.
A while ago, you said that you would, if the child was given back today, that you would have daycare tomorrow. Was that not your testimony earlier?
yes, it was.
Okay. And you just said, if the child is given back, you make the phone call and see who has an opening. What happens if nobody has an opening?
Then I stay home with my daughter until I find an opening.
So you aren't certain you will have daycare tomorrow morning if that were to happen?
I do not appreciate you putting words in my mouth that I did not say.
Okay, Ms. Peterson, you know, how people
Yes.
conduct themselves and all that, that's my job to police that. You just answer the questions.
Could you please repeat your question?
My question was that you can't guarantee that there will be an open spot tomorrow morning.
I cannot 110% guarantee no, but all I can do is make a phone call.
Do you know where Ms. Goucher lives?
I do not know.
Were y'all picked up together yesterday for the meeting, for the visitation?
Yes, we were. She was dropped off at the truck stop.
And she does not tell you where she lives?
Not my business.
Okay.
Are parents visits together?
Is my understanding, yes, they are, Your Honor.
They are not together. They are separate.
Okay.
Hers is from 7:30 to 8:30. Mine is 9:30 to 10:30. They are separate.
Do y'all travel to the visitations together?
Yesterday we did. The majority of the time they pick us up separately.
I'll pass witness, Sharon.
All right, Mr. Hammond,
I have no questions, Judge.
Ms. Zavala.
Mr. Peterson, I think you tried to answer this question, but I could not hear the answer. At the last hearing, your employer appeared and testified that they can not guarantee local routes and that there was no way that she could guarantee you'd be home every night. Has that changed in some way?
I guess I'm kind of confused at the question. Could you rephrase it, please?
Okay. Your employer appeared at the last hearing, correct?
Yes.
And she's testified that there was no way that she could guarantee you local trips, correct?
Correct.
And this is the same employer that you're working for now. What has changed?
They've been able to find loads to where I am able to be within driving range to head back to the yard and be home every night. And as I stated earlier, my attorney can testify to that.
So right now, you don't have a specific daycare. Do you have any idea what the usual hours for daycare are?
The ones that I have contacted have told me they're from 7 till 6 at night.
This hearing started at 1, and you told us you were in Lancaster 6 hours away, correct?
Yes, I did. And as I stated previously, I am doing this until I was able to get my daughter back to be able to try to drum up some more money.
Okay. You said that yesterday, Gloria was dropped off at the truck stop with you, or
Yes.
who dropped her there?
I have no idea.
Why did she go to the truck stop?
Because that's where I was at, and that's where I was told I was going to be picked up.
Okay, so if y'all's visits are separate, why did she have to be picked up with you?
Because the workers wanted us picked up together yesterday. You would have to ask them that. I have no idea. I'm not the agency. I have no idea why it was set up like that.
What truck stop was it?
Pilot Truck Stop in Amarillo, Texas.
Am I correct that some of your visits have been together with Gloria?
No, none of our visits have been together. All of our visits have been separate. As I stated, hers are 7:30 to 8:30. Mine are 9:30 to 10:30, separately.
So you said that you and Gloria were on the road for a while. When was that?
We were only on the road together for about 2 days. And then we got brought back to Amarillo, and she went with her friend. I don't remember the exact dates that it was.
Why was she on the road with you then?
We were trying to work things out to see if we could, make it work between us, and it ended up not working.
You said that it's just you and your dog in the hotel?
That is correct.
Okay. So who takes care of the dog while you're on runs?
Nobody. He goes with me.
Okay. If you got delayed on the road somewhere and it's 6 o'clock and it's time to pick up Jasmine, who would do that for you?
There wouldn't be any delays on the road, especially if I'm running local. And at that point in time, I would then contact the daycare and see what we could work out. A lot of the daycares around that I have contacted have said that they have flexible schedules.
I pass witness.
Okay, Mr. Novak.
Just to hammer something home, Russell, are you doing local routes now?
That would be correct. I'm currently in Dallas. I came down to Lancaster to pick up a load. It's only a 5-hour drive.
And you can be
I'm
home.
delayed right now. The only reason I'm delayed right now is because, like I stated earlier, I had to get trailer repairs done on my trailer.
And you can be home every night for your child, correct?
That is correct. Every single night.
You've got a good paying job, correct?
That is correct.
You got a place to live, correct?
Correct.
You've got daycare set up, correct?
Correct.
Your child was taken from you because you had a heart attack, correct?
Correct.
Ask the witness, Judge.
Mr. Trout?
Mr. Peterson, you just answered a question from Ms. Zavala that there would be no delays on the road because you're running local, correct?
That is correct. And I also stated that if there was, I would contact the
Objection,
daycare to
non-responsive.
see. I was answering your question.
Hey,
Enough.
Mr. Peterson, this is your last warning. Cut the attitude, answer the question. And if you do it again, I'll just remove you. It's just like having a bailiff pull you out of the courtroom.
My apologies, Your Honor. May I say something, please?
No, you're going to answer the questions that are asked of you. If you need to talk with your attorney, I'm happy to put you in a private room to talk with him.
Yes, please.
All right.
Thank you so much, Judge. And we're back and ready to proceed.
All
I
right, Mr. Trout,
apologize, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
you may proceed, Mr. Trout.
Thank you. Just to back up, you did tell Ms. Zavala that since you were running local routes, there would be no delays. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. But then you just answered a question to Mr. Nowak that you were delayed because you're having trailer repairs, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So you do have certain delays that happen as being a truck driver. Whether
Only
they're,
when I'm running,
go ahead, I apologize.
only when I'm running the longer routes, there will be some sort of delay. When I'm only on the local from Liberal, Kansas to Amarillo, Texas, there are no delays. It is a straight shot there, straight shot back. There are no delays.
And when we say delays, Mr. Peterson, we're talking things that can happen on the road also. Flats, blowouts, trailer damage, things like that can delay a route. So there's, understandably, being a truck driver, you can't guarantee things like that won't happen, correct?
That is correct. There's no guarantee that that would not happen.
Okay. So I believe that was kind of where Mr. Zavala was going, is that there's certain guarantees you can't make as far as picking the child up on time. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And just for instance, and I know you're being delayed a little because of the court hearing, but you're having trailer repairs done. You're about 5 or 6 hours away and the daycare closes in 4 hours. So even today, you would have to make some sort of arrangement, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And what would that arrangement be?
As I had previously stated, Your Honor, the arrangement would be I would contact the daycare and see if they would be able to hold her a little bit longer until I got home. As I had stated, some of them will extend their time for the parents.
Okay, but what if on that particular day they can't do that, and their licensing also, is very strict about those kinds of things. It's not like a worker can just take a child home.
Then I guess I would have to either quit my job or find something that I'm, flipping burgers or something,
Well, it's
where I
just,
can be home every day by a certain time.
Mr. Peterson, it's really more a question of, let me put it to you this way. Most all parents have a backup plan. Okay? And particularly when you have an infant. And most of them have a backup plan, even if they've got a child in daycare. If they get delayed at work or whatever would happen, they've got a family member or a close friend or some responsible party that they can call and say, hey, I can't leave work just yet. Can you go get little Susie for me? They've got people on standby for them. And that's just part of parenting. And that's what everybody's getting at. I mean, I'm just cutting to the chase here. That's what everybody wants to know. I mean, I understand if you can do the short hauls, fine. I understand you're not as far away from home, but things do happen. They happen to all of us.
Right.
So there's got to be a contingency plan. And my question is, who is that and what does that look like? And who is that going to be? And the answer, I'd have to work something out that doesn't get you there. That's because that's not an answer.
So to elaborate onto your question then, or to answer your question, I should say, that the answer to that would be, I don't have any friends or family down here. I would have to call somebody from my company and see if maybe they'd be able to pick her up. If not, then I would have to cancel my run. If I know that I'm not going to be able to make it back, I would have to cancel my run.
Well, no, but the issue is not, it's not canceling it. The issue is it's a normal day. You're going to take a load to Liberal and your truck breaks down between here and Liberal. Okay. And it's getting close to 6 o'clock. Who do you call? Who's your backup plan to go get Jasmine? You know, and to say, well, I'll work that out if it happens. That's just, you know, that just doesn't get us there. You know, listen, Mr. Peterson, I'm not trying to pick on you. I mean, I just, ultimately, the safety and the health and well-being of this baby is on my shoulders right now. You know, it's on me to make sure that we have sufficient, appropriate arrangements for a child that is in the custody of the department. So I'm just, you know, I'm not picking on you. I'm just trying to figure out what the plan is. And that's all Judge Board was trying to say to you too. So I feel like, you know, we still have some pretty big gaps here in the plan. Is there anywhere in Texas that you have the support of family or close friends or?
No, Your Honor, I am from Michigan. All of my friends and family are from Michigan. If need be, I will quit my job and I will be home with my daughter, get her to daycare every day, and then I will find a completely different job working fast food or something where I can be home every day, if that better answers your question.
Well, that's a decision you've got to make, and I would suggest something.
And that's the decision that I would make for my daughter.
That
I would do that for her.
Well, I mean, that's a decision you have to make. I think you should discuss that with your attorney. But I haven't made a decision about this yet today. I'm hoping that we may get some other answers from some other individual. But I'm just trying to explain to you what everybody really is asking you. Okay, so.
Correct. Yes, I understand.
All right, so we're going to move on from that. All right, Mr. Trout.
I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Hammonds, any questions?
No, Judge.
Okay, and Ms. Zavala.
No further questions.
Okay, Mr. Novak.
No further questions for my client at this point, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, all right. All right then, Mr. Novak, you can call your next witness.
I would like to call, and Garrett, if I mispronounce your last name, I apologize. Is it Kilho?
You're correct the first time. Yes, Kilho.
I'm going to call Garrett just to be safe. Garrett, I just have a very few questions for you. The visits between Mr. Peterson and Jasmine have been going stellar, correct?
They've been going well, yes, sir.
We talked yesterday, and I wrote it down and I put it in quotes. You said stellar. Is that correct?
That's what they've told me.
Well, but you're the witness, so I'm asking you. The visits have been stellar between Mr. Peterson and his daughter, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You don't have any issues with any sort of drug use for Mr. Peterson, do you?
No, sir.
You don't have any issues with any alcohol abuse with Mr. Peterson, do you?
No, sir.
I think one of your main concerns was that he might still be with Ms. Gloucher, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if they're not together, that would alleviate that concern, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if he has a motel with a kitchenette, and I know it's not ideal. Trust me, I know it's not ideal. But if he has a motel room with a kitchenette, you will not deny the child going home just for that reason only, correct?
Correct.
And you would like to see him have a steady job, correct?
Correct.
And as far as you know, he does have a steady job, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I think I'm hearing the concern that, well, he might not make it home by the time daycare closes every night. You've heard that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's one of your concerns, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's a concern with a lot of single parents across Amarillo, isn't it?
Yes.
If I can't get off of work and I got a kiddo, I got to have some backup support, correct?
Right.
If we were to return Jasmine to Mr. Peterson, is there any sort of service the department could offer if it happened to be that he had to stay in Kansas overnight or had to get home an hour late? Is there anything the department can offer in that regard?
I'm not aware of any.
Will you agree with me that, I mean, the main reason that Jasmine was removed from Mr. Peterson was because he had a heart attack the day that he called 911?
In the investigation report, it stated that he left Jasmine with Miss Goucher knowing she had extensive drinking history.
And I appreciate that she might not have that issue, and I hope she gets help with it. But again, he doesn't have that issue, correct?
He does not.
And he is, as far as you know, he separated himself from Miss Gloucester, correct?
Currently or previously?
Currently.
No, sir.
Is he with her right now?
I don't know if he's with her right now.
In fact, he just testified that he wasn't, correct?
He did.
Okay. You have no reason to disbelieve him, correct?
I do.
Tell me those reasons.
Every time I visited them in person, they've been together. Every contact that they've had through me or anyone in our department, they've been together.
Have you called them in? Sorry.
No, they've never been in two separate places.
Well, have you called them in for meetings?
They've been called in for meetings, yes.
By you?
Not by me.
By someone else in the department?
Yes.
And were the meetings set at the same time?
No.
They were set at different times?
There have been meetings set at different times, yes.
Were there meetings set at the same time where both mom and dad were called to come to the department?
Yes.
So you would expect them to come together for that meeting, correct?
Correct.
How many meetings were set separate that they came together for?
All of their visitation has been separate, and there was separate transportation for visitation previously. However, since our transportation staff was having to make 2 trips to the same place to pick up 2 different people, they started consolidating that to 1 trip to pick them both up, since they were constantly at the same address.
Well, I'm hearing 2 different things. I think I heard first that you said it was more convenient for the department to send 1 driver to pick them both up, correct?
Yes.
And that's the truth, correct?
Yes.
Saves on gas, saves on time for everybody, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't fault Mr. Peterson for availing himself of the service that you offered, where he had to drive with the mom of the child, correct?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you think Mr. Peterson is on the right track for a reunification with his daughter?
No.
Why?
I think there are other concerns besides housing and employment.
Okay, and that's my question. What are those concerns?
Anger management, primarily.
Mr. Kellogg, let me just interrupt real quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
If you would just identify your role in the case.
I'm the permanency specialist, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Whose anger management?
Russell's.
When's the first time you met him?
In person or over the phone?
Let's go with the first time, whether it was on the phone or in person.
I thought it was late April when I got the case.
And was he angry? What meeting was that, by phone?
Yes.
I'm trying to rush, Judge, because I've got Judge Estevez waiting on me in the other room, so I'm trying to get through as quick as I can. Was that by phone, that first meeting, or was that in person?
It was by phone.
Did he display anger?
Not the first time.
Okay, what was the second time?
He has displayed anger with.
No, hang on, Garrett. When was the second time? Was it by phone or in person?
I'm in Lubbock, so most of my contact with Mr. Peterson is over the phone.
Has there been any contact between you and Mr. Peterson in person?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell me about that one. For how many were those?
I've seen him once last month.
Okay. Did he display anger during that meeting?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's go back and tell the judge I'm late. I apologize, Judge. So you're telling me that over the phone at some point he displayed anger?
Yes, sir.
Do you have children?
I do not.
Okay. And he displayed anger after the department had removed his child, correct?
St. Francis did not remove his children.
After the state of Texas removed his child and Mr. Peterson spoke to you, did he display anger?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did he tell you he was angry about?
All the services we were asking him to do.
Okay. What did Mr. Peterson do that necessitated the removal by the state of Texas, if you know?
I know via the report. Is that adequate?
Say it again.
I know via the investigation report.
Okay, tell me in your own words what Mr. Peterson did that necessitated. Let me make it more simple. Tell me how Mr. Peterson put his daughter in danger.
Leaving her with Miss Goucher, knowing her history of alcoholism.
And that's it, correct?
That is, yes, neglectful supervision.
Well, he was gone. He was off to work, right?
Neglectful supervision, yes, sir.
Well, my question was, he went to work, correct?
I believe.
And he left his daughter with the mom, correct?
Yes.
And that happens all day long in the state of Texas, correct?
Correct.
And you know for a fact that when he got home and saw that she was passed out drunk, he's the one that called 911, correct?
Correct.
And that is what a responsible parent does, correct?
Correct.
And the only issue that you have with him was his involvement with Miss Goucher, correct?
Correct.
And so if he divorces himself from any involvement with her, your concerns are alleviated, correct?
Correct.
Ask the witness, Judge.
Mr. Keller, let me just ask though, and my recollection was this had happened before. Is that correct?
What had happened before your Honor?
That mother had consumed to the point of being unconscious and non-responsive, and this had happened just very early on after the child's birth.
Correct.
And then it happened a second time.
Yes. Or
So
I think it only happened once.
Okay, so it was just, this was the first and only incident?
Of drinking while we were involved in the case, yes, ma'am.
All right, but did Mr. Peterson ever admit or acknowledge that he knew mom had a drinking problem?
He did.
And that this kind of thing had happened before?
Yes, he had told the police whenever they arrived that I believe the report said this happens all the time.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Trout?
Thank you, Your Honor. Garrett, when you first met Mr. Peterson in person, where was that?
At the Wood Spring Suite.
Okay, the hotel he says he lives at now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were mother and father, were both parents there together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did Mr. Peterson tell you as far as who lived in the hotel room?
He told me it was just him and the dogs.
Okay. And what did Miss Goucher tell you?
She told me that she stayed there every night.
So you got two different stories, one that only Mr. Peterson lived there and one that from Miss Goucher that both of them lived there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Y'all had a meeting. There was a meeting held yesterday. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what's that meeting called?
A single case planning meeting.
Okay. And both parents were present.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What did they tell you about their relationship?
They said they were together, or in a roundabout way. Miss Goucher stated that their visits needed to be together since they were a family.
Okay. Did they state that they were together or they were a couple?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Peterson testified earlier, and I believe you had told me this prior, that they were picked up at the truck stop together.
Yes,
correct?
sir.
You heard Mr. Peterson testify earlier that someone dropped mother off at the truck stop.
Yes, sir.
If they weren't together, would it have been just as easy for the other person to drop them off at the department?
Yes, sir.
If they have if the parents have their own ride, y'all don't need to provide rides. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if mother had a ride to the truck stop, she could have had a ride to the department without meeting up with Mr. Peterson.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, and some of the confusion may have been on my part. Visits with the child, do they come together and then the visits are at different hours, or?
Yes, sir. They get picked up together. Miss Goucher's visits are from 8 to 9, and Mr. Peterson's visits are from 9:30 to 10:30.
Okay. Now, as far as rides to and from visits, you stated originally y'all were sending two vehicles. Is that correct?
Originally, yes, sir.
And why was that?
Because their visits were separated.
Okay. Does it also, and correct me if I'm wrong, does it also have something to do with they're supposedly not together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if they weren't together and weren't in the same place, you would need to send two cars.
Yes, sir.
But they're almost always together from what y'all have been able to tell. And so
Yes,
it's
sir.
more efficient to send one car.
Yes, sir.
Okay. During your handling of the case, since you got it after the adversary hearing, to your knowledge in working cases and the way in your experience in doing this, does it appear that parents are together or not together?
I'm sorry.
Do the behaviors of the parents, the way everything's going, does it appear to you that the parents are together or not together?
Together.
Has mom, I'm going to talk about mom for just a second. We haven't talked about her a whole lot, but Has, in our adversary hearing, mom admitted that she had a drinking issue
Yes, sir.
and that she would need some help.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Since your working of the case, has mom accepted any of that help?
No, sir.
Did she tell you that she did not plan on going to Center or any type of rehab?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But y'all have been able to go over service plans.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And those were actually filed, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were those taken care of yesterday?
Yes, I believe I got the e-file confirmations this morning.
Okay. But as far as going over service plans and
That was yesterday. Yes, sir.
okay. And so parents know what's expected of them at this time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. St. Francis Department, do you feel comfortable that there is a solid plan at this point for the care of the child if it was to be returned?
To Mr.
To
Peterson?
Mr. Peterson, yes.
No, sir.
And I'll rephrase that. It's gonna be the same question, but I'll try to make it a better question. If the child was returned to Mr. Peterson, from what you have seen since handling this case, is St. Francis confident that there is a good, stable plan for the child?
We're not.
Okay. Do you feel like there is a solid plan for daycare to place with the child, with Mr. Peterson?
Not currently.
Do you feel that, during the adversary hearing, everybody pointed fingers at Ms. Goucher,
Yes, sir.
that she was the one that had the baby at the time, and that was the reason for the removal. You stated a while ago that from what you can tell, they are still together.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like placing back with Mr. Peterson at this time, the mother would be around the child if that was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we don't have enough information to alleviate that concern. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We have not disputed that Mr. Peterson works.
Right.
He's still working for the same company.
Yes, sir.
There's still just some concerns about stability of being home every night
Yes, sir.
and care for the child if he's not.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Hammonds?
Garrett, let me clarify. You mentioned you had seen Mr. Peterson one time in person at the Woodbridge Suites.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember about when that was?
May I say the date, Your Honor?
May
Yes, sir.
12th.
You're not testifying.
Okay, May the 12th.
Yes, sir.
All right. And since that time and up to today, your conversations with him have been over the phone.
Yes, sir.
Is it my understanding that St. Francis does have workers in Amarillo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it just a situation that all the workers in Amarillo are full of cases and so therefore it got assigned to you?
That's my understanding.
Okay. And you would agree with me that's not the best situation?
I would.
I mean, 2 hours away makes it very difficult.
Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as Miss Goucher's drinking issue, have you seen Miss Goucher drink alcohol?
I have not.
I mean, have you ever been around her that she smelled of alcohol?
No, sir.
Has she told you since this incident she has not drank alcohol?
She has.
Okay. Have you given her tests?
Alcohol test? No, sir.
Okay. All your tests have been drug related.
Yes, sir.
How many of those have there been?
2 tests, 1 instance.
Okay. Any positive?
Drug tests? No, sir.
Yeah. Any positive results as a result?
No, sir.
Okay. You've read the investigative report. Do you recall in the investigative report, Miss Goucher mentioning she did not drink alcohol during her pregnancy?
I do.
And in fact, this incident that occurred was the first time she had had alcohol after the birth of the child.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is the department necessarily then, I guess, faulting Mr. Peterson because he left his child with Miss Goucher under these circumstances?
That was the reason for removal via the investigation report.
Okay. I mean, meaning she was an alcoholic before, but she hadn't had anything to drink for about 10 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you went to the Woodbridge Suites and you visited with them, did you look through the room? Did Miss Goucher have clothing in the room? Did she have a duffel bag in the room?
We entered the room, but there was lots of dog mess on the floor, so we didn't get to go through the room very much.
Okay. from your knowledge, does Miss Goucher have a driver's license?
I'm not sure.
Does Miss Goucher have a vehicle?
No, sir.
Does Miss Goucher have a job?
No, sir.
Nothing further, Judge.
Did Gloria or Russell say anything to you about traveling over the road together?
They did.
What did they say?
When I spoke to Mr. Pearson on the phone last, he stated that until he gets his daughter back, he would be on the road all week, be back in Amarillo for his visits, and then after the visits were concluded, be back out on the road until the next week for visits.
Did he say anything about whether Gloria was going to be with him or had been with him?
Not that I don't remember.
Did either Gloria or Russell say anything to you about the intention with the Woodbridge Suites?
They didn't say anything to me.
At any point, were you informed that they were not at the Woodbridge Suites?
Yes.
Was it either Gloria or Russell who told you that?
No.
Without telling me what they said, who was it that told you they weren't at the Woodbridge Suites?
Objection, Judge. It's going to be hearsay.
Sorry, the way I worded that was not good.
Mistake.
Without telling me what they said about the Woodbridge Suites, did you talk to anybody about Gloria and Russell and the Woodbridge Suites?
Judge,
Yeah.
it's still going to be hearsay, Judge. It's going to be hearsay. Did you talk to somebody? And I mean, did you talk to somebody about the Woodbridge Streets? I mean, I know where we're going with this, and the answer is going to be hearsay.
The answer that if there is a follow-up question, it may call for hearsay. The question is asked is not. So I'm allowed to answer that.
So am I answering who?
Let me, Ms. Violet, ask your question again.
Let me back up. Have you or anybody else from St. Francis ever gone to the Woodbridge Suites and Russell was not there?
No.
Had Russell ever told you that he was letting the Woodbridge Suites go so that he could be on the road until his daughter came back?
Yes.
The visits that were initially separate, there was one car that would go pick up Gloria for her visit. And did they pick her up at the Woodbridge Suites?
Yes, ma'am.
They took her to her visit and then brought her back to the Woodbridge Suites.
Yes, ma'am.
On that very same day, a little bit later, a separate car would come to the same Woodbridge Suites and pick up Russell,
Yes, ma'am.
take him to his visit, and then return him to the same Woodbridge Suites.
Yes, ma'am.
How many times did that happen before you consolidated to one driver?
I believe twice.
Tell me, you said something about you couldn't really look at the hotel room because of the dog feces on the floor. Tell me about that.
Whenever we got there, Russell brought us up to the room, and whenever we got there, Miss Goucher was inside cleaning up the dirty puppy pads and the dog pee and all that in the room.
Would that situation be safe for an infant?
No, ma'am.
Were you present at the adversary hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there discussion at that time about Miss Goucher potentially going to some sort of rehab or going someplace separate to get help?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as you know, did she go any place to get help?
No, ma'am.
And at that time, there was some testimony about Mr. Peterson's working situation.
Yes, ma'am.
And he said at that time that he was just doing short haul driving then.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at the hearing, his employer actually appeared and said, no, we can't guarantee that.
Yes, ma'am.
So the testimony today puts us in exactly the same place as we were at the adversary, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Only now we've got information that they're together and Ms. Goucher is not actually seeking the help that was talked about.
Yes,
Objection, that misstates the testimony. And you know what, Judge, I'll withdraw my objection. I'll clean it up on further cross. Thank you, Judge.
Yes, witness.
All right, Mr. Noah.
Thank you so much, Judge. Garrett, you said a couple of times that that Ms. Goucher and Mr. Peterson appear to be together, correct?
Yes,
And I think the last time you visited Amarillo was May 12th,
yes, sir.
so just about a month ago.
Yes, sir.
And to state the obvious, you haven't been back for another visit since May 12th, correct?
Correct.
And do you work for St. Francis?
I do.
Okay. Who from St. Francis and Amarillo has been by to see whether or not Ms. Goucher and Mr. Peterson appear to be together?
The transportation team picks them up together. And they both tell the visitation monitor that they're together.
Okay, well, let's be clear on this. They're being picked up together because that's a convenience for St. Francis. That's what you told me earlier, correct?
That is correct, because they're
So, well, hang on.
Mr. Novak, he agreed with you that, yes, it was convenient.
Let me ask you this. Isn't that the reason you did it, was because it was convenient?
I think we're a little backwards. It is convenient because they were together, not that they are coming together because it is convenient for us, but because they were together, it is convenient to pick them up together.
How many times has St. Francis been to where Russell lives?
Weekly.
And how many times you're there weekly?
Not I, but St. Francis.
Okay. So tell me who from St. Francis will get on the witness stand and testify that Ms. Goucher and Mr. Peterson are living together. Tell me who that person is.
The transportation is different each week because that's how the transportation team works.
Let me just remind you of my question. Who from St. Francis can sit on the witness stand and take an oath and tell me that Mr. Peterson and Ms. Goucher are living together? There's nobody, is there?
Deja Moore watches the visits, and she received testimony from Ms. Goucher.
Garrett, here's my question. Who from St. Francis can
Deja
swear an
Moore.
oath? Who from St. Francis can swear an oath and tell me under oath that Mr. Peterson and Ms. Goucher are living together? There's nobody, is there?
Lindsay Hartwell.
Is she there with you?
No, sir.
Is she available? I mean, can we get her on this Zoom link?
I believe so.
Okay, and what is her function in all this deal?
Parent support worker.
Okay. Can you, Judge, if we can get, I mean, I think that's the person I probably need to be talking to. And I didn't know this until today. And Garrett, the reason I'm asking these questions are one of your biggest concerns, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that Peterson and Goucher are back together. That's one of your biggest concerns, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I can disprove that, that alleviates your concern, correct?
That concern.
That's the one we're talking about right now, Garrett. You
Yes,
understand?
sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And you think, what do you think? And I'm going to ask you for all kinds of hearsay right now, and everyone else can object if they want. What would Lindsay tell me?
That they're together.
And what would she base that upon?
Based on what she has been told by Ms. Goucher.
Okay. I know the court has time constraints as well, Judge. I'm going to go ahead and I think, and just to be clear, Garrett, you've only gone to the Woodbridge once?
Personally.
Right, you.
Yes, sir.
You're the witness. You've only
Yes.
been there once, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was in May, correct?
Yes, sir.
So based upon your personal knowledge, you don't know any more than anyone else whether or not Goucher and Peterson are back together, correct?
Correct.
As far as you know, based on your personal knowledge, they're not together, correct? Based on what you've seen and what you know.
That's incorrect.
Tell me
Because
when you
what-
saw them since
what
May.
the only thing that I have seen was them in May, and they were together then. So based on that, I would say they're together.
And that's almost a month ago, correct?
Correct.
Now you've heard Russell testify that they're not together, correct?
Correct.
And you disagree with that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you don't know any more than a goose today whether or not they're together, number one, correct?
Correct.
Or whether or not there's dog poop or dog pee on the floor at the Woodbridge, correct? You don't know.
Correct.
As far as you know, the place is spotless, right?
Could be,
And as far as you know, they're not together, right?
as far as I know today.
Okay.
Anybody
think-
want to get Ms. Hartwell logged in?
We could do that, Judge, and I also have some questions for Ms. Goucher. But if we're gonna get Ms. Hartwell logged in, I would beg for a 5-minute break so I can just go tell Judge Estevez that I'm running late. And I'm right outside her courtroom, so I don't have to go far.
Ms. Hartwell has joined us. So, Mr. Nowak, I think we were ready for your next witness, correct, Mrs. Taylor?
He hadn't officially passed. He still had him on.
Okay.
I think I was questioning Garrett. And I think I made the points I needed to make with my question. So I'll go ahead and pass Mr. Garrett. I'm going to screw your last name up if I try to say it. So I'll pass Garrett, Judge.
Hello, silent GH.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay then, let's see, Mr. Trout.
As far as parents being together, your face-to-face interaction with them, mother told you she was living at the hotel with dad.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Hammonds,
Nothing further, Judge.
Ms. Zavala.
No further questions.
All right, Mr. Nowak, anything further of this witness?
Garrett, that face-to-face, when was that?
May 12th.
Pass the witness, Judge. Thank you. Thank you, Garrett.
Okay, Mr. Nowak, you call your next witness.
Call Gloria Goucher. Okay. Are you living with Russell Peterson?
No,
When's the last time you lived with him?
in May, like the beginning.
And
I've been with a friend ever since.
If Jasmine were sent home to Russell today, would you be there with him?
No,
Would you make an effort to stay away?
yes,
You understand that the main reason the child was removed by the state of Texas was because you were unresponsive due to alcohol. You understand that, correct?
yes, I do.
Did Russell force you to drink?
No,
Has Russell tried to help you get sober?
yes,
Is Russell a good parent?
definitely.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Goucher, where are you currently?
I am with a friend who is uncomfortable, and I am uncomfortable giving out that address.
I'm not asking for an address. Every time you talk, I keep hearing cars go by. So are you standing in a street, gas station? Like, where are you? Are you in Amarillo?
Yes, I'm in Amarillo. I'm outside. It's just it's the wind.
Okay. Were you staying with, Mr. Peterson at the Wood Springs Suites?
No, I was not.
Judge, everybody froze for me.
Okay, let's back up. Mr. Trout, can you ask did you get her last answer?
Ms. Goucher, I'm gonna back up because Ms. Taylor didn't get this, but I asked you, did you ever stay with Mr. Peterson at the Wood Springs Suites?
No,
So on May 12th, when you told Mr. Killo that you were staying there, you weren't being truthful, or were you staying there?
I never told him I was staying there. I told him I was there taking care of the dogs.
Okay. Where were you staying?
Same place with a friend.
Were you staying with the Smiths?
No,
Okay. On May 31st, did you tell a worker for St. Francis that the hotel cost had gone up and that y'all were packing everything and hitting the road?
no, I didn't.
Okay. Did you tell a worker yesterday that y'all would be getting your child back today and getting a place together?
No,
Do you and Mr. Peterson have are y'all in constant contact?
no.
How did you know where he was yesterday to meet the vehicle?
I was going there anyways to go to the store.
You just
They
happened to be
never
going to the truck?
contacted me.
I'm sorry, Amy.
I was going there anyways when the driver of the transport contacted me, and I told him just to pick me up there.
Okay. So you had a ride to that store, is that correct?
Yes.
Could that ride have taken you to the visit?
They didn't know where it was, and I didn't know the address to the place.
Okay. Do you and Mr. Peterson have plans on getting back together?
No.
At the last hearing, you told us that you were waiting on a bus ticket to go to Michigan to get something from y'all's house. You remember that?
Yes.
Did you go?
Yes.
You went to Michigan?
Yes.
Okay.
I also went up there. I grabbed some more baby stuff.
Okay. Are you living with a friend right now?
Yes.
And is that in Amarillo?
Yes.
Do you only see Mr. Peterson at visits?
Yeah.
Do y'all always ride together?
No.
How do y'all, I mean, I know in the beginning, they were sending two separate vehicles. Lately, have y'all been being picked up at the same place?
Just this last time. And
So
that was because the worker had messaged me and said you two are being picked up together.
Okay. When's the last time you were with Mr. Peterson?
I don't know.
Okay. You've been in this hearing the whole time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How long do you think it's been since you were with Mr. Peterson?
Since April.
Okay. So earlier when Mr. Peterson said that you were on the road with him for a couple of days, not that long ago. Actually, I believe it's been within the last few weeks. Was that not correct?
Yes.
Yes, it was correct, or yes, it was not correct.
We were together for a day or two, but that was it.
Oh, but that was on the road.
Yeah.
And that was not in April. That's been when?
Last month.
Last month is in May 5th, or last month is in May 28th?
The 28th. I went for a day or two just to get out and get away for a while.
Okay. So just a second ago, when you testified that
I was mistaken.
that you had not been together since April, that was not correct, right?
Correct. I was mistaken.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
I have bad memory problems and comprehension. So.
Okay. Mr. Hammond, any questions?
Yes, Judge. Gloria, the basis of your bad memory, what is that?
I was abused and neglected when I was a child, so I have real bad memory issues.
I mean, did you have brain injuries?
You can pretty much say that. A lot of blows to the head.
Okay. As far as your use of alcohol, when did you first start using alcohol?
Right after my mom passed away.
Okay. Can you give me a date?
The day she passed was December 28th, 2016.
Okay. Prior to that date, what was your use of alcohol like? Occasionally?
Hardly. Yeah.
Okay. Since that date in 2016, did your use of alcohol become more frequent?
Yes.
Would you drink to excess at times?
Sometimes.
Would you drink to the point that you would actually lose consciousness?
Sometimes, but not hard. It was like hardly ever.
Okay. When you became pregnant with Jasmine, did you use alcohol during your pregnancy?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So you had not used any alcohol for 9 months prior to Jasmine's birth, correct?
Correct.
Then nearly a week or two after Jasmine's birth is when this incident occurred, correct?
Correct.
Do you believe Russell could have anticipated you committing that, I guess, that bad judgment at that point?
No.
Okay. Up to that point, Russell had no reason to believe you would drink to unconsciousness.
Correct.
All right.
I think what it was my postpartum, and then all the stress I was under dealing with everything that was going on around
And
me.
how did you even have money to go buy liquor?
My dad sent me some money.
Okay, so Russell had not even given you any walking around money that you could have spent on liquor.
No,
All right.
I only drink beer, and it wasn't just that I bought that. I also had bought Jasmine some clothes and binkies with it too.
Okay, did you have a credit card
Yes,
and your dad had put money on the card?
yes, it's a net spend card.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about, since all this happened, did you have a duffel bag full of clothes there at the hotel when you became unconscious?
No,
Okay, what kind of clothing did you have? What kind of, toiletries did you have with you?
Mr. Hammonds, I'm gonna ask how, and if there is, you can tell me, but how is this relevant to the placement? I mean, we're here about placement with Dad. That's a request before me. So
Well, Judge, there's also been a lot of testimony that these two people have been together, and that's a concern of the department. I'm just trying to show the court that they've not been together.
okay, all right, then you've told me how you think it's relevant. So I'll
All
give you some latitude.
All right, thank you, Judge.
at the time when I'm sorry. You go on.
When Jasmine was removed, did you have a suitcase with you at that time?
I had a few clothes. That was pretty much it.
Okay, and are those clothes now at this friend's house?
Yes.
Are they at the Woodbridge? Is anything you own, toothbrush, toiletries, clothes, at the Woodbridge Suites in Russell's room?
No.
All right. And there was some testimony earlier that the two of you had a dog and also a couple puppies at the time.
Yes.
The couple puppies are gone, correct?
Yes.
What kind of dog does Russell have?
Blue Brindle, King Corso, Pit Mix.
All right. I have nothing further, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Sabala?
Ms. Coucher, at the adversary, it was discussed that you've got some other kids with Mr. Peterson. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and where do those kids live?
In Florida with his mom.
And were they removed from your care?
Yes.
Because of drinking?
No.
Do you and Mr. Peterson have plans to go visit those kids together?
No, I have no idea.
When do you usually see those kids?
Like every 2 to 3 times out of the year. It varies during the times of the year. We don't have like set times we go see them.
So have you and Mr. Peterson made any plans to take Jasmine to see these kids?
No.
And they're in Florida?
Yes.
I pass witness.
All right, Mr. Novak?
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
All right, anybody else have any further questions for Ms. Goucher at this time?
No, Judge.
One quick follow-up, Your Honor. When your attorney was asking you some questions a second ago, you said that you rarely drank to unconsciousness like that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But at the adversary, you testified that Mr. Peterson has had to use Narcan on you a couple of times because you were passed out unconscious. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. No
That
further
was
questions.
before Jasmine was born.
No further
That was
questions.
even before I got pregnant with her.
Okay, Ms. Goucher, nobody's asking you a question right now. You can call your next witness.
I will call, since we brought her here, I would love to call Lindsay Hartwell, please.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for jumping on such quick notice. I appreciate it.
Lindsay, thank you so much. State your name, please.
Lindsay Hartwell.
What is your role in this case regarding Jasmine Peterson?
I am Russell and Gloria's parent support worker.
What does that mean?
So I actually helped them work through their services. I helped them get them set up and start working on them.
Now, does Russell have a job?
He does.
And it's a decent paying job, correct?
I'm not sure.
You don't have any reason to doubt that it's a decent paying job, correct?
I don't.
And he has a place to live, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, well, you kind of made a face there. Do you not like where he lives?
That's not for me to say. I just said correct.
The place where he's living has got a bed, right?
Yes.
Got a bathroom and a bathtub and a shower.
Mhm.
Got a kitchenette.
Mhm.
It'd be suitable for caring for a child, correct?
That's hard for me to answer.
Lindsay, I know it's not ideal. I mean, I think every child, strike that. I know it's not ideal. However, Russell has a place that is suitable to raise a child, correct?
Correct.
And as far as you know, Russell has daycare plans in the works, correct?
I do not know that.
Okay. Are you opposed to having Jasmine go home with Russell?
I am.
Tell me why.
There's a lot of inconsistencies. There's not a plan. Yeah.
What inconsistencies?
Well, it's hard for me to answer because I'm just their parent support, but I will say that yesterday when they came to their visit, Russell actually asked Gloria if he could get the cigarettes out of her purse. She told me they were going to be living together. So there's just a lot of inconsistencies.
Okay, so the living together, that's an inconsistency because we've heard Russell say he's not going to live with Gloria. We've heard Gloria testify she's not going to live with Russell. So you're saying that's an inconsistency?
Correct.
When's the last time you performed a home visit and you saw them living together?
I have not.
You don't have any independent personal knowledge that they are living together, do you?
I don't.
As far as you know, their testimony today is truthful. They're living apart, correct?
Considering what was said to me yesterday, no.
When's the last time you saw them living together?
I haven't seen them living together, no.
When's the last time you went to Russell's home?
I believe it was in the beginning of May.
It was
They were together, yes.
At that point, they were together, correct?
Mhm.
And since then, as far as you know from the testimony, they're living apart, correct?
Since the testimony, yeah.
If Jasmine were to go home today with Russell and he got caught on the road and couldn't be home until after daycare closed, is there a service that you could offer to assist him with that?
Not that I am aware of, not without some kind of suitable support, no.
Support from his own family, correct?
Or friends.
The village type deal, right?
Right.
Okay. What is your understanding of why Jasmine was removed from Russell?
My understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
How is that relevant to placement with dad today?
If there was no reason to remove the child from dad, there's no reason not to send the.
But Judge Board already made that decision, Mr. Nowak. I mean, he named the department temporary managing. We're getting into a lot of rehashing what was relevant in an adversary hearing. She's a parent support worker. I mean, she's not the investigative caseworker. She's not the permanency specialist. I mean, she can only testify to what her role is as a parent support worker.
Yeah, thank you so much, Judge. As the parent support worker, it's your understanding that Russell has a job, right?
Correct.
It's your understanding that Russell has a home, correct?
Correct.
It's your understanding that Russell has made arrangements for daycare, correct?
I'm not aware of any arrangements that have been made, no.
If he had arranged for daycare, and if he's got a suitable home, if he's got a suitable job, is there any reason not to send the child home? Ma'am,
I'm sorry. No.
Did you say no?
There's no, I mean, I can't oppose that, no.
And let me make sure because there was a little computer glitch there. Russell has a job.
Correct.
Got a home.
Correct.
And he's got daycare in the works. Let's assume the daycare part, because I know you just don't know at this point. He's got those three things set up. There's no reason not to send the child home to Russell, correct?
Correct.
That's the witness, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Trout.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Hartwell, outside of physically seeing the parents live together or staying together, do you rely on what the parents tell you to make your decisions and see how I go about cases?
Yes, sir.
What needs to be done?
Yes, sir.
What did Gloria, the mother, tell you yesterday?
She stated that they were going to get their child back and they were just going to move in together, into a house together. They were going to move out of where they're at into a house together.
Okay. I just want to clarify on that and on how that was said, because it does make a difference on how that was said. That they will move together into a house, or they like. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this to where we can get the differentiation on that. Move out of where they are into a house, or move in together and into a house?
Yes, because we were discussing, the living arrangements, the motel. And she was kind of combative about the services that was being asked of her. And she said, well, it doesn't matter. We're going to get our daughter back and move into a house.
Okay. And when you say discussing the hotel, what do you mean by that?
Like where they're living.
Okay. Did she say at any point that they were living together in the hotel?
Not that I can recall that they were necessarily living together. No.
Okay.
I do them separate. I do, when I go over their service plan, I do it separately.
Mm-hmm. I understand. I just, when you said the living arrangement discussing the hotel, I was just trying to clarify on whether you meant they were staying together or they weren't staying together, since that's kind of where we are in this meeting.
Yes.
So she never flat out said that they were living together.
No.
Okay. Okay. But she did state to you yesterday that she'd be getting her child back and they'd be getting a place together.
Yes.
Okay. And you were on a second ago, and heard mother say that she never told you that.
Yes.
Okay. Is this the type of inconsistencies you were talking about a second ago?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is it inconsistencies in stories of depending on what comes from which parent?
Yes.
Okay. Just based on your knowledge of being a parent support worker, do you believe that, let me back up a second. As a parent support worker, your job is to help them through services and to get things set up with what they need.
Yes.
Okay. From what you've learned from working with the parents, do you believe there is a solid plan for caring for the child?
No.
From Mr. Peterson?
No.
Okay. Mr. Peterson does work. He is on the road, and he is on the road.
Yes.
He is able to, as far as we know, be able to be home at nights as much as he can, unless something comes up.
Correct.
Okay. You're not sure about daycare?
Not at all.
Okay. And possible care if something were to happen?
Not at all.
Okay. So based upon what you know as a parent support worker, do you believe it would be a safe environment at this time to send the baby home?
No.
I'll pass with Michelle.
Okay, Mr. Hammond, any questions?
You judge. Miss Hartwell, how long you been doing this?
This particular role or social work as a whole?
Social work.
About 5 years now.
All right. So you've interviewed a lot of different parents, correct?
Yes.
Have you interviewed parents with brain injuries before?
Well, I was a case manager for a mental health agency for a while.
Okay. Okay. Have you interviewed people who have been chronic alcoholics before?
Absolutely.
Would you agree with me that sometimes they have difficulty with their memory?
If they don't get help, yeah.
Would you agree with me that they can make inconsistent statements from day to day?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Have you noticed in your interviews with Miss Goucher, she has some issues in that regard?
I would have to say it depends on the day.
Okay. I have nothing further, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Zavala.
I have no questions of this witness.
All right. Ms. Hartwell, when we're working with families, is it generally true that we try and stress the importance of them having a support system?
Yes, ma'am.
And based on what you know, do either of them really have a support system at this point in time?
No, ma'am.
have you discussed that with them, whether together or independently?
Not necessarily a support system, but Gloria and I have had, I've had a conversation with her about going back to Michigan. You know, I really, you know, Russell has told me stationed out of here. So they have no one here. They have no supports here at all.
And they've been living in a motel, correct?
Correct.
And by its definition, a motel is generally a place where people come and go and are there for a night or two and move on, or short term.
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the kind of home environment where they are likely to meet, you know, maybe even meet a neighbor who might be appropriate, that could be sort of their backup plan, like they might have if they lived in an apartment or in a rental house or somewhere there were people who had roots. Reportedly, Mr. Peterson is living in a motel.
Yes.
And that's where we're talking about potentially placing the child.
Correct.
Right. Is a motel the kind of place where Mr. Peterson will likely or could likely meet, you know, a neighbor or somebody that might be a longer term kind of support for him, a backup plan if he's late from work?
I don't believe so, no.
I mean, by its very nature, people come and go from there all the time.
Correct.
Okay.
Ms. Hartwell, Russell doesn't have any issues with alcoholism, correct?
Correct.
And as far as you know, he doesn't abuse alcohol, correct?
Correct.
Doesn't abuse drugs, correct?
Correct.
Doesn't have a drug problem, correct?
Correct.
And if we sent Lindsay home, he'd be a single dad, correct?
Correct.
Lots of single dads in Amarillo, correct?
Correct.
There's some that don't have jobs, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And there's some that are having to live with family members, correct?
Unfortunately.
And there's some that don't have daycare set up, correct?
Correct.
And there's some that don't have there's some that don't have a support system, correct?
Correct.
And is that any reason to keep a child from her father? It's not, is it? It's not, is it?
No, not to keep her from her, but the safety of the child, I would have to say yes.
What has Russell done to put the child's safety at issue?
If you know, Ms. Hartwell, again.
I don't know.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Stroud, any further questions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Ms. Hartwell?
No, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Hartwell, is she free to leave at this time?
No objection, Judge.
I have no objection. Your Honor.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you, Ms. Hartwell.
All right, Mr. Novak, any further witnesses?
Rest.
At the risk of sounding like my dear friend Don Emerson, I've heard what I need to hear to make a decision about this at this point in time. I do want to hear a recommendation from Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, I've visited Jasmine in person in her placement. She's doing well there. As to change of placement to dad, at this time, I feel like we don't have any more of a plan than we had at the last hearing. Everything that was in the air before is still up in the air. And now I believe I have more concerns about contact with the parents. At this point, I don't believe placement of Jasmine with her father would be in her best interest.
All right. In fact, I'm not trying to cut everybody off at the knees, but I'm just, what was really relevant here today is what plan does dad have in place for me to consider placing the child with him? And I'm going to deny the request. Mr. Peterson, if you're serious about wanting this child home, let me just suggest to you, find an apartment, find a rental home, find something where you can put a few roots down, try to develop some friendships with neighbors or some people. It's the total lack of the backup plan that it's a huge concern. It's by nature what you do for a living. It's just things are going to happen. It's just a question of when. And I am absolutely not comfortable that we've got a really good plan in place. Neither am I convinced that you are done with Ms. Goucher, quite frankly. So we're going to let this just play out a little longer, and we're going to see what Ms. Goucher does to try to address her admitted substance abuse problem. And we'll see what you do to try to mitigate and eliminate this stability problem. And, you know, by your own testimony, you're making decent money. You know, I'm not going to penalize you by ordering you to pay child support, which I could, but I'm not going to, because I'd rather you use those resources to find alternative housing. You know,
May I ask you a question to what you said, Your Honor?
Nope. You can talk to your lawyer about all this, but that is my decision. But I wanted to give you the benefit of what is behind my decision, as opposed to just categorically denying it. It's just too early in the game, and the stability and safety is not there. And I cannot send the child home to you at this time.
And I'm confused.
Nope. I just find.
And I'm confused.
Nope. I just find.
And I'm confused.
Nope. I'm not, this is not the time for you all to argue with me or discuss it with me. And, you know, in this sense, this isn't a democracy. That is my ruling. Your lawyers will talk to you about it. I am not saying that in the future that this may not happen. I hope it does. That's the ultimate goal. Okay. But we're not there yet. So, you know, everybody's got to keep running the ball downfield and before we get, you know, to the goalpost. But we're not there. We're about on the 10-yard line. So, and I mean your 10-yard line. So, I will let you discuss this with your attorneys. I'd be happy to put your attorneys in breakout rooms with you right now. Or if you want to make contact with them later, I know Mr. Novak is probably very pressed to proceed to his next matter. So,
I do need a breakout room really fast, please.
Russell, I apologize, Judge. Russell, I'll call you when I get out on my next hearing. I got a judge on a bench.
Yeah.
Right outside the room I'm in
All right, I get that, but I have the right to speak. You know, I have the right to defend myself.
No,
That's in
Russell,
any court of law.
you
Russell,
don't
Russell,
right now.
in the first place.
Okay. I'm removing you both. Call your lawyers.
And Judge, we are set for June 20th for the next hearing. Is that still in the works? I mean,
Yes, that's status hearing. That's
Okay.
the status hearing.
I will call Ms. Goucher right now.